And what better way to start off our tour than with one of the most iconic African animals? Out on our left, I do spot a mother and baby southern white rhino. Kind of right at the base of that grassy hillside out there. Now, rhinos are a very large mammal living in a very hot environment, right? So how in the world can they cope with all that heat out in the wild? Well, instead of being covered in head to toe in fur, they have a few sparse hairs throughout their body. But that also means their skin is quite susceptible to the elements. Just like you and me, rhinos can actually get sunburnt. So one way they'll help prevent that is by rolling around in mud wallows. With each coat of mud, kind of like a layer of sunscreen for us, helping to protect themselves out there. Now towards the end of our tour, we will wrap back around to get a much better view of everyone out on the left. So hopefully our friends will still be here when we return. Wild, because everything on an animal does have a purpose. Let's look at the greater flamingos down on our right for an example. As we get a good look at them, you might be thinking, they're not that bright pink color. And normally think about what's going on. Well, this species is also very well adapted to a hot and sunny environment. So having this lighter shaded feather helps them to better reflect that harsh sunlight off their bodies and keeps them a lot more cool out there. It's very similar to when you decide to wear a white t-shirt on a hot sunny day. And each and every one of these babies have helped contribute to our vision. And that vision is to lead the fight to end extinction. Now speaking of ending extinction, out on our right we have arrived to our Nikita Khan Rhino Rescue Center. Now as I do look throughout this field, I don't spot any of our southern white rhinos. Our 6 rhinos we have here do have multiple fields to enjoy throughout the day. So we'll keep on pulling through. But I do want to still mention the amazing work our team is doing here with them. So our southern white rhinos have a very close relative, the northern white rhino species. Unfortunately, there are only 2 northern white rhinos left in the entire world. And there's one big catch. They're both female. So the work we're doing here involves artificial insemination. And through this technology, we've just had our second successful pregnancy of one of our southern female white rhinos. It's in hopes that as our 2 females' pregnancies go well and the technology continues to remain successful, that in years down the road, one of our lucky ladies here will then become a surrogate mother for a northern white rhino calf. Now out on our left, it looks like we do have an individual that truly does love the water. This shaggy brown individual is an Ellipson's waterbuck, so she doesn't mind the rain that's happening right now. I'd like us all to look very closely at her coat for me. Notice how nice and dense and shaggy it is. Now she lives in a very hot place, so why in the world would she want a shaggy coat? Well, the Ellipson's waterbuck are some world-class swimmers. And anytime a predator is in the area, these waterbuck will sprint to a nearby water source and actually swim away. That's why they have that nice dense shaggy coat, to keep them warm as they're swimming around in those cooler waters out there. But oh my goodness, it looks like we have rolled up to quite the piggy party. Out on the right hand side, these bright orange individuals are the red river hogs. Now do me a quick favor, pull out your cell phones and snap a quick picture of these adorable pigs for me. Once you do that, put that brand new picture into a grayscale filter. Because when you and I look at them, they have that nice, very bright coat. And these animals reside in the rainforest areas. That's a very green background, right? So they're standing out greatly to predators then, right? Well, if you take a look at them through that grayscale photo, you'll see them exactly as predators do. Lions, leopards, and cheetahs see in black and white. So you'll notice in their eyes, orange and green is practically the same color. So having this nice orange coat allows these red river hogs to keep blending in and throwing those wild piggy parties out there.
There's two more over here.
Now, not every animal can be as fortunate as the red river hog to have adaptive camouflage to help them survive out in the wild. So another form of adaptation is adaptive behaviors. And we're pulling up on one right now out on the left. This grouping of dark brown individuals sitting together at the bottom of the hill are the South African sable. And they are showing us what is called an alert circle. So if you look closely, you'll see they're all sitting nice and close together. And they're all kind of looking out in slightly different directions, right? They're having eyes all over the plains. That way, they can quickly spot any predators that might be coming their way and alert the herd. It's time to get up and get the heck out of there. Now for all you baby animal lovers, looks like we have a few babies coming up on the left. These light tan individuals are the Patterson's eland. They are the largest antelope species in Africa, and fully grown they'll top out about 2,000 pounds. So these adorable little babies we're passing have a lot to grow into. Now one thing you might notice is that as we kind of pass the entire herd, each of these individuals have a set of horns. That's very interesting. So what do we think's going on here? Give me a thumbs up if you think they're all males, or a thumbs down if you think there's some females with them too. 1, 2, 3, go. Few thumbs up, few thumbs down. Alright. Oh, I might surprise you all. In this species, they're both males and females. They both do have horns in this species. And all that tells you about them is they're highly competitive. Most often, animals with horns will actually use them against their own species. They interlock them similar to an arm wrestling match, and will continuously twist back and forth until one of them wins and one of them loses. Most often, they'll fight over a territory, a food source, or a pretty individual every now and then. Now, it does seem that we have arrived at a tower out on the left, and the tower is that group name we have for giraffes. Now, when I hear this group name, it always reminds me of their nicknames, the Watchtowers of Africa. But it's not just because of how tall they are that they get this name. Let's focus in on this individual, on her eyes, ears, and nostrils.
Sit here so you can put a picture. That's all right.
All three of these sensory structures are absolutely enormous, aren't they? So giraffes will... Sorry, buddy, I know, I'm not making fun of you, I promise. I'm just pointing out your amazing sensory structures. Look how big they are. The eyes are roughly the size of golf balls for a little bit of perspective. So giraffes being anywhere from 15 to 18 feet tall, they'll use all three of these sensory structures to get a good map of their surroundings. And it's because of these structures that they're able to spot trouble up to 2 miles away. So it's not uncommon for other animals to hang around them out there. Because if we were all smaller animals, right, maybe like those springbok, the small tan individuals, and we're grazing about, and all of a sudden we see a giraffe take off sprinting, well, it's probably in our best interest to take off too and ask questions later, right? Now, as we do pull around out on the left, I want to point out those large black individuals, the Cape buffalo with those nice kind of curved inward horns out there. There are a few babies right around that feeding trough that are absolutely adorable too. Now, how many of you would love to go snuggle one of those cute buffalo? Raise your hands. A few people? Yeah, they're adorable. Well, that probably wouldn't be the best idea, because these buffalo are the second most dangerous animals in all of Africa. They have been known to take out entire prides of lions before. And that's simply because if you mess with just one of those buffalo, that entire herd is going to come after you with a vengeance. They are a highly family-oriented species. In the corner of that structure we just passed is called a boma. It is just an area that we will pull our animals into for various reasons, including checkups with the vet. So she's just kind of hanging out in her own personal waiting room right now. Now right here along the fence line, we are passing an animal with something we saw earlier in our tour. These are the Uganda cob, and they have that nice bright orange coat like we saw in the red river hogs. So what does that tell you about them as far as where they like to hang out? A very green area, right? Uganda cob will commonly hike up to grassy hillsides to not only blend in, but that way they can have 360-degree views. Like this mama and her baby right up here. Look how nervous she's getting. They're very timid animals. She's always on high alert. So having a nice place to look out is very beneficial for them. Now, we currently have arrived at one of my personal favorite places here at the safari park, because as you look out on the left, it is absolutely a beautiful view. You know, the giraffes in the distance, the Cape buffaloes, even that caravan truck that's way out there. Just a beautiful view. Now, my favorite thing about this view is all this space you see, because everything you are looking at are the areas that our animals have here within their enclosures to roam. And they're out here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, having the ability to interact not only with their own species, but with other species too, just like they would out in the wild. Now, unfortunately, one of the number one reasons we are seeing loss of wildlife around the world is because they are losing their spaces, or these animals call home. And believe it or not, it's not just happening overseas in Africa and Asia and all those far off places. It's even happening in our own backyards. And we're actually passing one of the most endangered habitats on our right hand side. Now, this home for wildlife is known as the coastal sage scrub. And sadly, about 90% of this habitat has been ripped out along our coastlines here in California. So we decided to step in and try and help out by setting aside 800 acres that will never be touched. We're hoping one day we can help bring it back. But in the meantime, a very easy way we all can help out with this, whether you're from San Diego or just visiting, is that wherever you live, just do a little bit of research and try and plant local plants in your gardens. Local plants will not only give homes to local wildlife, but they're also going to use up less water, which is really a huge plus for you. As we have been seeing throughout our safari today, all of these African animals are well adapted to where they call home. But if you were to take them out of what they're used to, how do you think they would do? Probably not that well, right? Because unlike you and me, you know, these animals can't run to the nearest grocery store when they're hungry, or throw on a rain jacket when it starts to sprinkle outside. And that's exactly why they have to be so well adapted to where they live. So we each need to try and do our parts to help protect where these animals call home. And I realize that sounds like an incredibly large task. But I'm here to tell you it's a lot of simple things you do every day that just need a slight adjustment.
So those roads
For
are for
example,
the
it's
tour you
as
pay
easy
for.
as turning off the lights when you leave a room, or using a reusable water bottle versus a single-use plastic one. All of these small things will truly add up and make a world of difference out there. Now coming up on our right hand side are going to be some rather large individuals with even larger horns. I mean, take a look at those massive horns we're looking at. These are the Ankole cattle, and they are some of the few domestic species we do have here at the safari park. Now those big old horns, how big do we think those can get? We'll take a look down at the benches you're sitting on, because the width of those benches is the width that those horns can grow to be from tip to tip. That's a total of 6 feet wide. Now do you think having massive horns like this would help these cattle out in the wild? Probably not, right? Those big old horns would get caught on every passing bush. So these individuals are actually bred to have larger horns. Because the bigger the horns your cow has in some cultures out in Africa, the more wealthy of a person you are. It's honestly, having one of those cows out in Africa is very similar to owning a Ferrari here in Southern California. It is a big deal to have one of those cows. Now, I would like to take this time to congratulate each and every one of you on board today, because you all have taken your first steps to becoming heroes for wildlife. Just by coming into our park today, how fun is that? Here at the Safari Park and over at the San Diego Zoo, we are a not-for-profit organization. So all those fancy words mean is that with your admission price today and any money you've spent here, it's going directly back to helping all the animals we've been seeing, but it also helps to fund the 140 conservation projects we have going on worldwide. So just by being here today, you all are already leaving a positive impact on the world around you.
That's a yucky truck.
And that's that. We've
Now,
seen all the
as
animals,
we
right?
round the corner, as promised, we are back at the start, and it looks like our southern white rhino friends decided to stay out and play. Oh, and there's more. So if you look along that hillside, that is one of our baby southern white rhinos grazing about. From here, I can't tell if that's baby Ellen or baby Justin. They're roughly about the same size now. It looks like Justin from here, actually. He turned 1 year old at the beginning of February. Now, when we do see a grouping of rhinos like this, that is called a crash. Now, it kind of makes me laugh when I hear that group name, but it also makes me a little sad. People assume with rhinos' large-bodied nature and poor eyesight that they're reckless and crash into things and they're aggressive, but this is the furthest thing from the truth about these animals. Now, they are some of the most graceful runners you'll ever see, and it's all in thanks to a gelatinous matrix they have on the bottom of their feet. So if you look at these two feeding from the trough as they kind of shift around, you might be able to see a glimpse of this jelly-like matrix. This does allow them to evenly distribute their weight as they're walking and running. So they kind of remind me of overgrown ballerinas when they're in full stride. Now, to make up for the poor eyesight, you might be noticing those massive ears kind of rotating around. Rhinos do have the capability to rotate their ears about 180 degrees, so they can get a good auditory map of what's going on in their surroundings. You can think of them as like mini satellite dishes out there. But the real question about these animals is, how many of you would love to touch a rhino's horn? Raise your hand for me. A few people? Awesome. Okay, I can help you out with that. You just have to do me one last favor if you don't mind. Go ahead and run your fingers through your hair for me. And just tap your fingernails. Congratulations everyone, you've all just touched your very own rhino horn. Because those rhino horns out there are made out of keratin. It's that same material that your hair and fingernails are made out of. Sadly, it is still believed in some cultures that rhino horns contain medicinal properties that make sick people get better. But there is absolutely zero scientific evidence to prove that. So unfortunately, they are still poached or legally hunted for their horns. So an easy way you can help out these gentle giants is by spreading the word that the only one that benefits from having a rhino horn are the rhinos themselves. They're literally giant fingernails. They're just on their faces. Now, believe it or not though, rhinos are not the only big animals out in Africa, iconic animals that are in desperate need of help. Sadly, the giraffe is also in need of help out there. They've lost about 40% of their population in the last 4 years. Now, researchers around the world are trying to figure out what is happening. And we sent out our very own team to try and help out. So out in Kenya, they set up hundreds of trail cameras. They'll snap images of passing wildlife. And our team just needs help from volunteers like each and every one of you to go through these photos and help identify the animals you see. So if you would like to help the world's tallest land mammal, you just have to go to wildwatchkenya.org. Sadly, that is the end of our safari today, but I would like to thank you all for braving the rain and coming out to see our animals. I had a really fun time showing you all our beautiful animals.